Hi guys, this is HC605MA and we will be talking about new Simchair MKIII peripherals today. Particularly the new single engine collective with head support and the B8 flight stick grip. So the collective is a successor of the 412 twin collective lever with some interesting improvements. One of the most noticeable improvements is the new tensioner. The rubber bands are here to counter the weight of the head, and the tensioner is only used for providing the minimal friction that is needed to stabilize the lever in position, so you can fix it in any position you want. But it feels as smooth as the simple collective. The main reason for simple collective to be so smooth is its lever is really lightweight, and you can tighten this tensioner halves very lightly, and it would be sufficient for it to hold the lightweight lever. But with this thing attached, the lever is rather heavy. So what you need to do for any weight you can have here is to counter it with the sufficient quantity of rubber bands. After that, it should feel really smooth and nice, just as a simple collective. The throttle here turns 200 degrees like in real Huey. The external diameter is also like in a real Huey, 40 millimeters. So that's it. This collective is really nice. I will show you it when we will be flying in a few moments. Then let's talk about the B8 stick. It has a few really nice features, like hot plug option. You can detach the stick and plug it back in. For example, if you need to to go pour yourself a cup of tea or something, and it will work without any problems. Then it has a nice feature of sensitivity switching. Look at the controls in a sim. When I press the potentiometer button, you can see my stick is jumping a bit. This is because this button press switches sensitivity setting from 100% to 80%. We'll use 80% by default because this is what feels most comfortable. You can see that my physical movements are pretty much pretty similar to movements range of the controls in a sim, and never mind the webcam input lag. So another nice feature I want to talk about is the force stream. You can't really reproduce the exact way in which force stream works in a real heli in a non-force feedback stick, because we have no magnetic brakes or springs like in a real Huey. No, this cyclic is it just moves free. So I decided to implement it in a way that will fit the real-world usage of the for stream option. So I've talked to a couple of real-life pilots, and they all tend to disable it if they can, because you know, springs in a real helicopter do the exact same thing as they do joysticks. They reduce sensitivity of the controls. So, as you know, you control helicopter with barely applying pressure to the controls, and when you use springs, your movements are not so precise. So, best thing you can do with for stream, you can just disable it like this and enjoy a super realistic flying experience. But let's talk about the way it is done in Simchair firmware. You can press the for stream button, this one, and you can see my control input no longer affects the controls in the sim. Now if I press this button again, still nothing, you see. So that is done to save your rotor from detaching if you accidentally release your trim in some weird position like this. So what you have to do is you have to move your stick to the position where you trimmed it. Same thing with pedals. You can set up the deviation from the initial position. By default it is set to 5% axis range. It is called the advanced for stream mode, or adaptive, I don't exactly recall. You can read about this in the documentation on master controller configuration on my site, which is ht65ma.org. Now if you for some reason can't find the position in which you trim the sticks, the controls, you can always press the sensitivity switch button to instantly release the trimmer. You can see the collector jumped to the center when I pressed it. Now I switch to 80% sensitivity again, and I can fly finally, and we can look how new controls behave. You know, it's been a major I2C upgrade. All the software was completely rewritten. So the cool thing about the I2C upgrade is that we can now use the custom configuration for all of our peripherals. and all our peripherals are now detected automatically when we plug them on joystick startup. So you can see that even at 80% sensitivity, my controls are really precise and sensitive. And I'm still controlling the helicopter with applying pressure to the stick rather than moving the stick around. Another cool feature of the MKIII stick is two-positional trigger. It behaves just like it does in a real helicopter. When you press it half-face, you press one of the buttons of the joystick, and it is called the intercom position. So you can assign intercom button to it if you have one in your simulator. This is particularly useful in Arma 3. Then when you press the button to its full extent, you press another joystick button. It is the push to talk position. So these two positions are totally different buttons, and they are totally independent. So when you press the push to talk button, the intercom button is released by software. So speaking about Arma, another really cool feature for Arma pilots is that you can use your Teamspeak hotkey. You can assign the hotkey combination to be pressed when you press the push to talk button. So you can use Teamspeak as an intercom, as the external radio, and you can use your intercom to communicate with passengers in your helicopter, or maybe group channel, or whatever you like. So other than that, all buttons work as they should. You can assign any of the buttons to functions I've been telling you about. For example, you can assign this button as a 4th stream button, because in 407 this button is used as a 4th stream one, or you can assign sensitivity switch button to some other button or whatever you want. Well, that's pretty much it. Let's land somewhere and look if our cyclic is precise enough. I will be doing the vertical landing. Let's pick some interesting spot for it. Oh, let's land here. We'll be landing very smoothly to avoid VRS. Because we have 0 forward speed, so we don't want VRS to happen, to occur in a hover. Okay, we're in ground effect. Looks like a bit of uneven terrain with some inclination, but it's okay. So the cool thing about force stream is I can now press the button, leave the controls, and go pour myself some tea. I can detach cyclic, by the way. Then I can return, plug cyclic back in, release the trim, and I can take off again. Let's get some forward airspeed. Here's the translational lift. And we're returning to the airport. Meanwhile, I will show you how the trim works in flight. As soon as we're in a stable flight, more or less, we can press trim button. Now I can release it. You can see how smooth is the transition between the trimmed flight and trim disengagement. So we will land on the runway directly ahead of us. And we're on the ground effect pillow. Let's taxi to the parking area. Here, let's park on this little spot. You can see that the precision is really the precision of the controls is more than enough. This is, by the way, the precision had been increased to a very large amount, because now we have up to 15-bit resolution of the of all the main axes, like pedals and cyclic. We don't really need that much resolution here, so collective has 10-bit resolution. As for cyclic and pedals, I recommend using something like 13 to 14 bits. This can be set up in the master controller.in configuration file. You can read about all the configurable parameters on my site, or you can just ask in comments. I will appreciate any interest in the project. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you do like the Simchair if you will try to build one. Please like the video, subscribe, and visit my site, and look for new posts and pages on it and on my Thingiverse page. So see ya, guys.